Thank you, Minister Gayton McKenzie. You know, Mr. President, on a day like this, it's important to reflect that this is the first reconciliation day under the Government of National Unity. And while some people's sole job, their stated intention for South Africa is to sow division and hate, your government, under your leadership, wants to bring about unity and prosperity. While some people want to sow division and hate, this government wants to bring about jobs and growth for every community. While some people want to sow division and hate, this government wants to ensure water and security for every community. And so this government, under your leadership, Mr. President, this government of national unity, this day is important, and it will become a defining moment of your presidency, Mr. President, and of this government, because unity, with unity, anything is possible in South Africa. And anything is possible as long as we stand together and we understand that our strength is what will take South Africa forward. And there's one man that is leading this charge for us in this country. He heads this government of national unity. While some people wanted to sow division and hate, he brought political parties from across the spectrum together to say we will put the needs of South Africa first. And so it is my singular greatest honor to introduce His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. Won't you please all rise and welcome the President to the stage. Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Let's be seated, please. Thank you, Minister McPherson, Program Director, Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Minister Gayton McKenzie. I'm sure you will all agree that since Minister McKenzie became a minister, he looks much more respectful, he's much more good-looking. I never thought that I would see him wearing a suit repeatedly. Hy sê vir my altyd dat mense sê dat hy is baie bly om 'n minister te wees. En hy sê vir my, hulle lieg. Hulle lieg, want hy is nie bly nie. Hy is baie bly. Ministers and deputy ministers, I'm glad that Minister McPherson is here. I'm also glad that Minister Majodina is here, and Deputy Minister Nell is also here. I also greet the MEC for Infrastructure, Mr. Tertius Simmers. I also want to greet our Deputy Speaker in the National Assembly. I also want to greet members of Parliament who are here present, and the Executive Mayor of the West Coast District, Mr. Rolf Stradom, the Executive Mayor of Matzikama local municipality as well, and religious and traditional leaders. And I want to especially greet the Paramount Chief, who is also here amongst us, the Paramount Chief who stood up earlier to be introduced. So I greet you all, and I'm really pleased to be here. I particularly want to greet you on this day of national reconciliation. It is indeed an occasion where we remember, as well as to celebrate, our journey as a country as we move forward with our task and process of nation building, our task of healing and social justice and forgiveness. This day of reconciliation is really dedicated to healing the historical wounds and forging new futures for all the people of South Africa. For much of our history, this day, the 16th of December, stood as a symbol of the wounds of our history. For some, it was a celebration of victory. For others, it was a painful memory and reminder of conquest and dispossession. Now, since the advent of democracy, since we became a democratic country, we have sought to do away with the symbols that divide us. We chose to mark the 16th of December as a day of reconciliation, a celebration of our unity and diversity. Dit verskaf my groot plesier om vanjaar se versoeningdag hier in Vredendal, die vallei van die vrede en herdenk. This is an important part of our country, but it is also a place that is steeped in history. It is a place that is so important that many of our people need to recognize that far away from everyone else on the West Coast, there is a place called Vredendal, where people like yourselves live. This valley of peace is blessed land with very fertile farms. It is also a place where a lot of farming takes place, and it's a farming area where there are many inhabitants and many of them are farm workers. As we work to reduce unemployment, as Mr. McPherson said, we see the value of agriculture and land reform in growing our economy and creating jobs for our people. We know that history does not have blank pages. Under the inhuman apartheid system, farm workers bore the brunt of exploitation. White commercial farms were built on the back of slaves and South Africa's indigenous people. Since the advent of democracy 30 years ago, we have driven a series of legislative changes to advance the rights of farm workers. We have passed a law that prevents the arbitrary eviction of families that are living on farms. But we also know that farm workers and labor tenants are still being evicted in a number of places without being afforded alternative accommodation. We know, and I continuously hear, the stories of how farm workers are removed in the most cruel way from the farms where they work. En ons doen 'n beroep op al werkgewers om mense menselijk te behandelen. We would like them to be treated like human beings. We would like them to be treated as people who have rights. We call on employers to treat their workers humanely and ensure that they have decent accommodation. We insist that all should ensure that the law is upheld and the rights of all people are protected as well. The working conditions of farm workers are regulated by the Labor Relations Act. And for the first time in the history of our country, we now have a minimum wage that has been set for farm workers. Now, no farm workers may be paid below the national minimum wage. As part of land reform, we have encouraged employment share schemes as well. This is where workers in agriculture and other sectors can have shares in the companies that they work for. There have been initiatives here in Matzikama where this approach is being implemented. We want this to spread, as this is now beginning to spread throughout the country, that people who work in various enterprises should also become share owners in those enterprises. So we would like this to spread so that people in this area have a sense that they also have a share in the economy of this area as well. Reconciliation Day is about advancing reconciliation. It's also about advancing justice and nation building. It promotes social cohesion as well as healing. The past may be behind us, but we are left with the wounds that were inflicted in the past. So as we forge ahead, we know that we have deep scars as a reminder of our painful experiences. We cannot heal these wounds by forgetting that past. There are things that we should do that will enhance the healing process. But we must also learn from our past. We have come a long way as a country of diverse cultures, as a country of different languages, of different beliefs, and also different traditions. Hier in Vredendal het ons 'n pragtige en diverse gemeenskap. 'n gemeenskap that is integrated as part of the rainbow nation that we are. And here in Vredendal, we have people who are colored, we have people who are Afrikaners, we have people who are Africans, but all of us have the same identity as South Africans. That is what makes us proud. So there may be Afrikaans, there may be Indian, there may also be English and Xhosa, and all of us are united because we are South Africans. And here in Vredendal, we have a beautiful and diverse community. A beautiful community that has been integrated for the longest time. They can also be a great lesson to the entire nation. Our history records the great acts of political activism by the people of this province, but more particularly here in the West Coast. Colored people were not spared in the brutality of slavery and dispossession and segregation. The apartheid system tried to divide us and turn us against each other, but they did not succeed. Through democracy, we have worked to restore the dignity of all of us who suffered under apartheid, including the people who live here. Now, our national coat of arms pays tribute to the Khoi and the San. The human figures that you see in our national coat of arms depict an attitude of greeting, a symbol of unity as well. And this represents a sense of belonging to the nation and to a common humanity. The motto of our nation is written in the language of the Kam people. It means diverse people unite. 5 years ago, we signed the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act into law. This gave formal recognition to Khoisan institutions of traditional leadership. And with the support of the Pan South African Language Board, we have worked to make sure that Khoi, Nama, San languages are offered as part of the school curriculum. Now, this never happened under apartheid. It is only happening now in our democratic South Africa that we all worked and fought for. Our public broadcaster, the South African Broadcasting Corporation, initiated and continues to support XKFM, the only radio station in our country that supports the Kun and the Kwe language of the indigenous San people who originated here and who were the very first inhabitants of South Africa. Through the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, we are supporting community and civic organizations that are dedicated to preserving the distinct cultural identity and heritage of the Khoi and San people. Since the advent of democracy, we have done much to advance reconciliation and redress. And the cornerstone of our journey as a country is our Constitution, Onze Grondwet. It enshrines human rights and promotes equality for all citizens. It also protects the rights of previously marginalized people. These groups include racial minorities, women, people with disabilities, children, elderly people, the LGBTQIA+ community. This is a stark departure from the exclusionary policies of the past. As part of building a new nation, we established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which was chaired by the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu. The commission was tasked with uncovering human rights abuses committed during the apartheid era and providing a platform for those who suffered and those who were victims, as well as perpetrators, to share their stories. This was part of the process of what we call restorative justice. The TRC succeeded in creating a collective historical memory. It helped to ensure that the horrors of apartheid would never be forgotten and that they would never be repeated. Our task now as a people is to complete the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, to take forward the work of nation building, to be people who build a nation, not to be people who break the nation. There are some who, even on public platforms, make statements that almost contribute to breaking our nation. And we must refuse, as South Africans, that our unity must be broken. We must refuse to give those people space who rely on hatred, who rely on lies, and want to separate us as South Africans. We have learned from the past 30 years that reconciliation means fostering cultural understanding and promoting social cohesion and social justice. In our post-apartheid South Africa, initiatives that are aimed at promoting unity and diversity have been pursued through a number of platforms, including sports, including education, the arts, and recognition of the important role of families. Government, working alongside civil society, has invested in education programs that emphasize human rights, anti-racism, anti-tribalism, and inclusivity. This spirit of inclusivity is to be found in the Government of National Unity that was formed following the May elections of this year. The Government of National Unity brings together diverse parties, 10 parties altogether, with different policies, different histories, different perspectives, and people who look different and who have different backgrounds. Yet we are united by a commitment to build a better South Africa for all its people. Whether we are African, whether we are white, whether we are Indian or colored, we all know that we are all South Africans, and that will never be taken away from us by anybody. We are determined that through this Government of National Unity, we should leave no one behind. We should foster growth. We should create an economy that will be able to create jobs. We are determined that we will focus on what the people of South Africa mandated us to do. Now, this rich diversity is our nation's greatest strength. It is what makes us who we are. I often have the opportunity of going around the world, of seeing a number of people from a number of countries. I must tell you now that I am yet to come across a nation of diverse people as we South Africans. We are a diverse people, and we are united under one common flag, which is the flag of our country. We are all bound together by the spirit of Ubuntu. The word Ubuntu has its roots in isiZulu, which says umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. A person is a person through other people. A persoon is a persoon deur ander mense. Ek is omdat ons is. I am because we are. Guided by this idea, reconciliation involves both the healing of historical wounds and the bridging of social, economic, and racial divides. Our main goal is to foster unity and social cohesion amongst the country's diverse communities and encourage mutual respect and understanding. Versoening beteken ons moet ongelykheid beëindig. We must end inequality. That despite the achievements of the past 30 years, South Africa continues to face significant challenges on its journey towards reconciliation. Our country is still divided by poverty and unemployment. We are therefore taking action as the Government of National Unity to build an inclusive economy and to create jobs. We are investing in social and economic infrastructure. We are making our economy more competitive through the reforms that we are making in a variety of areas, whether it is in electricity, telecommunications, agriculture, water, rail, road, and our ports. We are expanding programs that have successfully created work and training opportunities for young people. As part of the work to reduce poverty, we continue to support poor households in our country through free basic services, free fee schools, subsidized housing opportunities, and financial aid to tertiary as well as to normal schools for the students from poor and working class families. As a government, we are strengthening institutions that must fight corruption and crime in our country. We do so because corruption undermines the trust between the people and the public representatives that have been elected to serve them. Crime, gender-based violence, and instability cause great misery and hardship. They strain the social fabric of our country. They worsen tensions and also exacerbate more divisions amongst us. Over the last few years, we have seen progress that is being made in a number of areas. We are calling on all South Africans and all our communities to work together to ensure that we make progress in a number of areas, be they in fighting crime, be it in making sure that our children attend school, in making sure that we fight social ills such as drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and all the very bad tendencies that have arisen in our country. Reconciliation itself is not a symbolic act. It requires a fundamental transformation of society to create a fair and just nation. The program of the Government of National Unity has therefore prioritized inclusive growth, job creation, and more transformation. We have prioritized the fight against poverty and building a capable and developmental state that will address the needs of our people. Now, through this work, as we work together, we will be able to achieve our goals. And so on this day, we reaffirm our commitment to forge a new future for our country. And indeed, this new future, as I look around, is being forged in more ways than one. I would say this is the first time that we collectively, from different communities, from different political parties, we attend Reconciliation Day together. In the past, it used to be maybe one or two political parties that attend. Today, as I look around, I see PA supporters, I see DA supporters, I see ANC supporters, I see PAC supporters, I see all various parties united here, including their leaders, leaders who used to fight to the death. Today, Gayton McKenzie can stand on the same platform with other leaders from other parties. And you know, he used to be very, very ungentlemanly and very aggressive. Kyk net vandag. Kyk net vandag, hy is so baie ordentlik. So this is the miracle that continues in our country. And today, we are celebrating Reconciliation Day in a new way. This is the new way of doing things in South Africa. And we would like this to continue. We would like to see the people of South Africa united in everything that they do. All of them putting their views forward together. And this is where we reaffirm our commitment to work together through a national dialogue to define the path our nation will take as we move forward. I did speak out and said, yes, we support the holding of a national dialogue. Now, through our various actions, we are reigniting our collective vision and shared passion to create a South Africa that works for all its people. We are confronting our challenges with the courage and determination displayed during the darkest day of the struggle against apartheid. South Africa has a rich history of inclusive solutions to problems. Today, I announce that we will hold a national dialogue next year to enable a conversation among citizens on shaping our country's future developmental plan. The national dialogue will seek to build on the achievement of 30 years of democracy. This national dialogue will give us an opportunity to address the challenges we've been facing for the past 15 years of low growth and unemployment, of poverty and hunger, of poor governance, slow land reform, and corruption. We will also want the national dialogue to address pressing challenges such as gender-based violence and femicide, social fragmentation, racism, xenophobia, and sexism, and violence and instability. We will want the national dialogue to strengthen and consolidate the process of social compacting, where we come together as different sectors and communities to find common solutions like we have always found in the past. It is therefore envisaged that the national dialogue will be informed by an extensive public consultation process in local areas organized by various sectors of society. Since the announcement I made on the national dialogue during my inauguration in June of this year, we have received many representations from civil society, including foundations that were established by the stalwarts of our struggle for freedom. Further consultation is currently underway with other formations within society to form the content of the national dialogue. In due course, I will appoint an advisory panel of eminent persons to provide guidance and advice through the national dialogue process. The advisory panel will include men and women of stature who have played prominent roles in nation building as well as in advancing social cohesion. I will also appoint national dialogue steering committee members to coordinate the national dialogue process. Now, this steering committee will include representation from the foundations that have played a leading role in championing the idea of the national dialogue process. It will include government people, people from labor, business, and the community constituency. All the necessary structures and processes of the dialogue will be in place early in the new year so that preparations can commence in earnest, because we would all want this national dialogue to happen. We expect that the national dialogue will reach agreement on the critical issues that are facing our nation. It is expected to develop a shared vision of what it means to be a South African and of a common value system that will guide current and future generations. Now, with a renewed commitment to social justice, economic empowerment, and cultural understanding, our country can continue the work of building on the achievements that we have already made. We can fulfill our destiny to be a truly reconciled, equal, caring, and united nation. Many of you know that next year South Africa will become the first African country to lead the influential group of the world's largest economies, the G20. Now, we as South Africans have outlined an ambitious agenda for our G20 presidency. Now, it is our presidency as South Africans, all of us as a nation, now become the president of the G20. We become very important people in the world. The whole world will be looking at us. The small country that we are, they will be looking at us as South Africa. We only have 60 million people living here. Now we have the opportunity to lead the many countries that make up the G20, to lead countries such as India with 1.4 billion people, China with 1.3 billion people, the United States of America with more than 350 million people, and many others, and the entire continent, which has 1.3 billion people. So we, tiny South Africa, have now been given the opportunity to lead all these countries, and they will all be coming here to South Africa So you are presidents of the world. You are presidents of the G20. So we have decided that as they work with us for the whole year, we want to advance the theme of solidarity. We want the world to act in solidarity with each other, so that when one part of the world suffers and struggles, those that can must pledge solidarity. We also want the world to unite in fostering equality, so that there must be equality in the world. The poorer peoples in the world must be uplifted. The people who are suffering must be assisted. And we also want sustainability, so that the growth path that countries in the world embark upon must be growth paths that are sustainable. They must not be flush in the pan. So I call on all of us as South Africans to be part of making South Africa's presidency a success. So in November next year, the various presidents from around the world will come together in Johannesburg. They'll come together in Johannesburg. It's a pity we can't bring them here to Vredendal. I would have loved to bring them here, but you don't have enough airports for all their big planes. Next time we will do so and bring them here to Vredendal. But they will come to Johannesburg, where South Africa will lead the world in making sure we come up with good policies that will take the world forward in terms of progress that needs to be taken forward to advance the interests of people. Now, the road ahead will not be an easy one. And yet, even as we may sometimes think our challenges are insurmountable, let us reflect on how far we have come as a nation. And I would like us to reflect on our achievements as South Africans, and remember that as South Africans, we are stronger when we are united. We are much stronger when we work together. And it is this that we have in us as South Africans, the strength and the resilience that has brought us to where we are. Now, as we celebrate this day with our loved ones, let us make a concerted effort to also reconcile as families, and to reconcile as friends, and to reconcile, yes, as political parties, so that we are able to take this country forward. As one of the famous Amapiano, Kabza De Small, sings in his hit song, Imithandazo, a song with an appealing prayer in both isiZulu and isiXhosa languages. He says, "Hold on, my friend. I will come back, my friend. Don't cry, my friend. It will all be well, my friend. And hear the prayers of your children. Pour your heart, pour down your spirit of success." Now, this song speaks to many of us in South Africa, and it talks about holding on. It talks about making sure that we do succeed in what we do, but we can only succeed as South Africans when we work together. When we walk this whole journey together, this is what being South African means. So today, on Reconciliation Day, I wish all of us the very best. Ek wens julle almal 'n geseënde, veilige versoeningsdag, sodat almal van ons kan hierdie dag geniet We should enjoy this day. I am particularly going to enjoy it here in Vredendal. Maar God Suid-Afrika seën en al haar mense beskerm. I wish you all a blessed day, and may God continue to protect the people of South Africa. Nkosi sikelela South Africa. Thank you very much.